Hey, I'm Chaz. Today we're going to be talking about getting fast wins for a new campaign. Location page optimization, the term was made service. It was 14 days. This was back in just a couple months ago we did it. It was from this location page optimization. I did this one. Organically, a matter of days, you should be able to see results. Sometimes really quick. If you change page title or something, 2-3 days, you should see organic results. Maps, it's almost like you have to wait till maybe the algorithm refreshes. Normally it's about every 2 weeks, but I'm seeing map results come about 2 weeks from doing this. 12 to 14 days is typically when the map results change from doing something like this. I see really fast and extreme movement in mid-comp niches and under-optimized brands. If you have a client that's really not optimized, this is one of those things that just change their results overnight. And then there is an example here. This is one of my pages I can share that have pretty much all these elements live on it, that if somebody wanted to look at, how do you do it, they're showcased on this page. Because the first 3 things here are kind of the big 2, right? I look at on page as there's 3 big things. There's your URL, there's the page title, there's the H1. We're going to talk about 2 of those 3 things here. So one thing I do is my primary local keyword in the page title. Sounds straightforward, right? Yes, obviously you need to have that. There's a lot that don't have that, right? There's a lot of small local companies out there that just maybe have their homepage. They have one location, their homepage is linked to their GMB. They don't really have, they have their brand name there, right? But they don't have that primary local keyword there. If you add it, you're going to see results really quick. So you can also absolutely optimize for nearby, near me, near me searches. And I do that by literally adding the term nearby or near me either into the H1 or into a page title. You should try to stuff in my GMB category in there if it's not. And again, I try to put in the page title if I can. If not, H1 would be the second place I would put this stuff. Here's another one. So many times these are missed on that location page. That location page, your city page, it talks about, I don't know, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, whatever city. It's all about the city. But they don't actually list out all the services that they offer. Google wants to know what services your business gives them. Think of your page as what do we do, or who we are, what do we do, who we service, right? Answer those questions. One of those is, what do I do? You got to tell Google what you do. The best way to do it is putting it in a list, in an unordered list. I literally, years ago, they recommended doing this in your GMB description. I still do it to this day on my location page. I make sure I list my services in an unordered list. I also try to wrap them in H tags because they're important. If your client doesn't have their services listed on their location page, go add them. At least the main ones. Go link into the main service pages if possible. There are some service pages it's hard to link back to your locations, particularly when you're talking about multi-location. Well, how do I link one main service to 50 of my locations? Well, you actually can. You could literally just put a list of all the cities, and each one of your cities at the very bottom could just link out, and you could do that. If it looks ugly, you could just throw it in a tab or an accordion, or so many other people do. You could just use CSS to make it not look like it's there visually, right? Full NAP section, including company name. When it comes to their entity engine, they're trained to look for certain things, and they're trained to look for not just one of these elements. They're trained to look for 2 out of 3 or whatever, right? They're looking to validate the status. So I always anytime I mention NAP, I'll always make sure that it's complete. Try to do that. Opening hours. Again, a lot of location pages miss that. I put it into my mix. And when I put it into my mix, I'm not saying just by doing one of these things, by the way, it's a game changer, but this whole process, it's game changed numerous of my clients' location page results in their GMB listing rankings. So, but I add it. I mention the hour. I tell Google when the business is open. This is obviously right. You want to make sure you get your map embed there. I don't embed driving directions anymore. I know some people do. And I know some people build their location pages they'll say this is the ultimate location page, and then you can just scroll down for 5 minutes of driving direction maps everywhere. It's yeah, okay, there's probably a lot better ways to create relevancy for those locations rather than embedding hundreds of driving directions on your location page. That doesn't make sense. But I do always include a GMB map embed. I link to the map. Typically, I link to the map on most of my location pages. If you look, if you look at this made service page, if you would go look at that, I think I'm probably linking twice. I think most of the times I link twice. When I use the place ID And then one, I'll usually go through maybe a redirect or a deep link. So I usually link several ways to the map. Sometimes I'll link to the map reviews here. Sometimes it'll be third-party reviews if the company has them. So if they have some good reviews on Yelp or Angie or whatever else, or a niche directory maybe, right? I might link to something like that over the GMB most likely. There's a pretty strong correlation still that if you look at top ranking listings in the 3-pack and just kind of click into the page that's linked there, a lot of them have their reviews shown. Like they're either pulling in their reviews or they're linking to reviews. Is it a trust signal? I don't know, but I like to tell Google, I give them that info like, hey, this business does have reviews and you can read those here. Again, I try to link to some of the socials. I don't go overboard. I try to choose a few. So here let me make a caveat. I don't link to all on my location page. I link to kind of like the heavy hitters. Like if I would do a brand search for that location, what's coming up in the search for that location? What other brand mentions are there? Is there a BBB? Is there a Chamber of Commerce? Some of those heavy hitters there I'm going to link to. But I don't link everything on my location page. There's other pages on my site that I would list the zip codes and neighborhood. I add these, right? You can add them in accordions. There's other ways you can add them, but I do recommend adding these. They create a lot of relevance for your area, for your location. Does your location page link to itself with primary keywords? Started adding this. Again, not saying this is going to be a game changer, but there's been some tests done, not by me, by the way, but people that I follow on that one. I'm pretty confident that, doing this is more helpful than not. So linking to itself with its primary keyword. We talk about this a lot. Is your location page, is it satisfactory for the niche that it's in, right? Comparative to what else is ranking highly, is yours satisfactory? Local schema. There's a couple other things with markup too that I like doing. I like to have local schema. I like to make sure that it's well built out. Make sure you have a good same as in there, good optimized descriptions in your schema. There's lots of ways you can reference like different radiuses and your service areas and things. You can reference multi-locations in schema. There's a lot of things you can do with schema, but having a good build out schema, I think, is important. Locally optimized images, if we're talking about on page, you can't really neglect that. Not that it's going to really move the needle. We've tested it single variably and it doesn't, but I still think like in general, giving that data to Google everywhere is a little bit probably beneficial. So here's some of the stuff that wasn't listed that I'm going to talk about too. So what's not on that list we talk about that I always do is a semantic core. I take my semantic core for that location page, and I take the keyword bucket that I find, and I strategically use them on my H tags. Whereas obviously I know my H1's already been used with, some type of primary variation, but I strategically H2, H3, H4, H5 use keywords from the semantic core that I find for my location page in those areas. It's hard to audit for that without actually doing a semantic core, but that is something that would be done. Literally marking up your address section with there's something called address HTML markup. It's in the content itself, whereas like local schema might go in the head of the page. This, you actually mark up the content and mark up your NAP section, where your contact is. So that way Google knows, not that they don't, but you're still kind of just giving them a little bit of reinforcement there that this is my contact. The NLP salience, I think it's good to look at. I don't go too deep into NLP, but if you put your page in there and like Google's off on what that main topic is, I think it probably hurts you. But at least maybe running a quick check is probably helpful in your location, especially main location pages, right? Now this top ranking niche content, it's not a white hat thing that I do here. And I don't do it on clients, but there are campaigns that I do take top ranking niche content, and I do think it's more helpful than not. And when I take it, I literally would like search the topic, non-local, right? Non-geomodified, search the topic, find the niche, find what's ranking highly, find some relevant content there. And there's a reason that content's ranking highly for that topic, because it covers that topic thoroughly, etc. Been very well tested. You can take that, and if you just throw it maybe into like a Unicode generator or something, it's perfectly fine to use, not on client stuff, but maybe a lead gen or something like that. Again, not that I would do it on clients, but if you have a new SEO campaign, it's a lead gen, you're a little bit more gray hat. Yeah, like, sure, why not? It's something you can possibly do. And then a little bit more on location pages. Some of the stuff we talked about there is like, how do I add all that stuff to my location page? We'll use accordions, okay? You can use accordions, you can use tabs. That would kind of probably be just stylistic elements there. But again, if you want to skirt into the grays, like, well, how do I add all the stuff to my location page? Well, you can also use CSS, and there's just ways you can use CSS to either just shrink it to little or change the, whatever. There's multiple ways you can use CSS. And then people are like, should I have location page? I just have one GMB list. Should I have location pages? It's like, well, do you want to get leads from other locations? It's like, build location pages. At a minimum, sure, okay, you have a GMB listing in New York and you build a location page for Chicago. Like you're not going to get any maps visibility in Chicago, right? But you could get organic. But I use location pages kind of surrounding where I'm at and trying to just like expand that, whether you call them location pages or whatever you call them, city pages, they can definitely push visibility. But thanks for joining us. Hopefully we all can kind of get our clients better results faster.